Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. I'm PharmacyTechLove. This is where you're learning everything that you need to know about how to be a pharmacy technician. Hey, I'm PharmacyTechLove. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and right beside that, hit the bell. Okay, just to talk on a different note outside of pharmacy right now, we do know that a lot is going on right now. So if you are able to donate to George Floyd's family, I would love and I would appreciate for you to do that with just whatever you can possibly do. There's just so much going on right now. And another thing that I want you to do is to just be mindful of what you're posting on social media, because I don't want it to affect your life and your career and what you have going on. Okay, so let's be smart. Let's be smart about what's going on. So because we do matter, and I want to say that we do matter. Okay, let's get into some pharmacy talk. But first, I always have a question of the day. So the question of the day is, what are you I can't even say it. I want to say suspicious, superstitious. What are you superstitious about? Think about it. I want you to tell me now. What are you superstitious about? If I had one, I remember being young, and I think my sister accidentally swept my uncle's foot with a broom, and he picked the broom up and he spit on it, and we were like, what is up with that? And he said it means that it's going to bring bad luck. So I guess since that's really kind of the only one I just really remember, I would say I'm superstitious at people sweeping my feet. May bring me bad luck. I don't know. Okay, so the topic of today is allegations. I did do a poll, and you guys did say that you wanted me to do the pharmacy math. Of course, I can't fit all of the pharmacy math in one video, so I just chose allegations because I feel like it's where people struggle the most in my class. Even though I can teach it to you very easily. So let's get into it. Okay, before we get started, I do want to let you guys know I have partnered up with Pharmacy Tech Lessons. So if you are interested and if you are serious in becoming a certified pharmacy technician, I'll leave my description and my discount code I'll leave my webpage and my discount code in the description. I'll also put it in the comments for you as well, along with the discount code. I contacted a young lady by the name of Onisha Biggs. As I said, she's with Pharmacy Tech Lessons. She has a wonderful platform and a wonderful YouTube channel. With her program, they do have a guarantee that you will pass your PTCB exam in 60 days. And they do have a 95% pass rate. Everything is online, and they also will have a coach for you as well. If this sounds like something that you will be interested in, like I said, check my webpage out and use my discount code. Okay, now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's talk about allegations and exactly what exactly you need to do. Because there are some rules to allegations, so let's talk about these rules. First things first, solvents and diluents. A solvent is going to be more of something that's going to possibly dissolve a powder. A diluent can be used for maybe lowering a concentration of a liquid, okay? So we have a solvent. It can be used as a solvent and a diluent. And examples of those are water, vanishing cream, petrolantum, which is just Vaseline. And all of these have a 0% strength. As you know, water has a 0% strength. As you know, Vaseline has a 0% strength. These things do not have any medication added to them, okay? All right, next thing, liquids. They are expressed as milliliters, all right? So whenever you work in allegations, liquids are always expressed as milliliters. Okay, solids are expressed as grams. Any ratio that you have, say for instance you have a 1 to 200, this is a ratio, 1:200, which also means 1 divided by 200. These have to be converted into a percent in order to put them into an allegation grid. And I'm going to show you exactly what an allegation grid is. I'm going to show you exactly how you need to work that allegation grid. Something else I was going to show you. Oh, this is what a lot of people have trouble with, because a lot of people have been out of school for a long time. Whenever you have a fraction like this, the number that goes into your calculator first is the numerator, and then the denominator goes in, okay? I have a lot of people that want to put their denominator into their calculator first and then the numerator. It's 1 divided by 200. So when you use your calculator, put your numerator in first and then your denominator. All right, let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to break this down for you. This is called an allegation grid, okay? That's what this is. So it's just like a tic-tac-toe grid. I think tic-tac-toe. Okay, so in the upper left corner of your allegation grid is going to be your higher percent, okay? I need you guys to remember this because I'm going to try to go through this as I go through some problems, but if you need to write this down, if you are taking a class, all right, and you are working allegations, I need you to take some notes because that's what you need to do when you're in school. You have to take notes. So this is the allegation grid. In the upper left-hand corner is going to be your higher percent drug. In the lower left corner is going to be your lower percent. In the middle is going to be what you desire to make for the patient. That is going to be your desired percent, okay? All right, after that, this is all going to be subtraction. So the lower strength and the desired strength, we're going to subtract those, and we're going to put that number here. And there's never going to be, I need you to hear this, there's never going to be any negatives in the allegation grid, okay? All right, so then you have your higher percent and your desired strength. You're going to subtract that as well. So you're going from left to right and left to right again in different angles. So you're going to subtract your higher from your desired. That's going to give you a percent. Your lower from your desired, that's going to give you a percent. But just remember, there's no negatives, okay? All right, after you have achieved that, you will have total parts. You will have parts, which will go right here. And in this corner here, you will also have parts. You're going to add those parts together. Again, you're going to add those parts together, which is going to give you your total parts. All right? And whatever part you had here, you're going to divide that by your total parts. Whatever parts that you had here, from subtracting these two, whatever parts you had here, you're also going to divide that by your total parts. So now you have a fraction, but we don't need to leave that as a fraction. We need to divide that and turn that into a decimal, okay? And in the previous clip, remember how I said you divide your numerator by your denominator. So whatever number is here, you're going to divide it by this number. That's going to give you a decimal, okay? From that point on, you're going to multiply it by the desired quantity to determine each ingredient needed. So we're going to work out a couple of example problems, so just stay with me. Okay, same thing here. It's the same. It's going to be the same process over and over and over. And I am going to show you some different allegations also, where there's some that's going to be asking, the question is going to be asking for parts, or it may be asking for grams. So I'm going to work those out as well. Okay, so you're going to work the top the same way that you work the bottom, okay? So I'm not going to go through this again because you can rewind this, okay? So at the bottom, you have your parts, and you're going to divide that by your total parts. That's going to give you a decimal. You're going to multiply that by your desired quantity, and that's going to determine the ingredients needed, okay? Each ingredient needed. All right, let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 different allegations, okay? So this is the first one out of the 3. It says prepare 140 grams of a 5% ointment. So that's what we're going to prepare. We're going to be using a 1% ointment and a 2.5% ointment. So that means that we're going to be using this 1% and we're going to be using this 2.5% in order to make this 140 grams of a 5%, okay? All right, so we need our higher strength, lower strength, and desired strength, okay? So out of these two, actually I'm going to circle this instead of underlining it because I feel like you can You can just notice it a lot better. Okay, so out of these two, I need to know which one is the higher strength. Okay, if you said 2.5, that is absolutely correct. The lower strength is 1. Okay, so now what's our next step? Because I need you to write those steps down. The next thing that we're going to do is we need a desired strength. And this is what we desire to make. This is what the patient is going to be going home with. So that's going to be 5. Okay, so 5, remember this is subtraction and subtraction. 5 minus 2.5 is 2.5. And remember again, there's never going to be any negatives in an allegation grid, okay? All right, then we have 5 minus 1, which is 4. What's our next step? If you said we're going to get our total parts, I'm just going to put TP. So our total parts is going to be 6.5. Okay, we just added those together. All right, we're moving on to the next step. We need to gather our parts. This is the same thing as this. And we need to divide that by 6.5. Same thing here. We have our parts, 2.5, divided by, again, our total parts, which is 6.5. What's the next thing we need to do? We need to multiply this, whatever this decimal comes out to be, we need to multiply this times our desired quantity so we can find out how much of each ingredient we need. So I'm going to tell you just an easy way to do this so you don't even have to write the decimal down, okay? So I'm going to skip a step, and I want you to skip a step because it just works out so much better, okay? So once you put this in your calculator, the 4 divided by 6.5, I want you to go right into your multiplication key and multiply this times your total quantity, which is 140. Same thing here. That's what I want you to do. Leave out that middle step. And when I say that middle step, what I mean by when I say that middle step is writing this. 2.5 divided by 6.5 is writing that long decimal, that 0.3 point. Excuse me, hold on 1 second. Let me rewrite that. It's 0.3846153. I don't want you to have to write all that, okay? And you don't want to write it either. Don't do that to yourself, okay? So let's just move on and let's multiply that times 140. So when you put this in your calculator, this is what I want you to do. Let's go back to this one. I want you to put 4 divided by 6.5. I don't want you to hit enter or equal, excuse me. And then I want you, after you put in your calculator 4 divided by 6.5, go right into your multiplication key and multiply that times 140. That's going to give you 86.13, and that's grams because this is a grams problem, okay? Same thing with this one. We have 2.5 divided by 6.5 times 140. That was going to be 53.84 grams, okay? Now, a way that you can check this to make sure that these two ingredients equal up to 140 grams is just simply add these together, okay? So I'm going to put that in my calculator. I have 86.13 grams plus 53.84. All right, that's 136.97. That's as close as we're going to get on that, okay? 136.97. That's as close as it gets. And when you take your PTCB exam, these are going to be multiple choice questions. Like say for instance, you have A, B, I'm just going to stop at C. And let's say that one of your multiple choice questions is 86. We're answering for this one. The next multiple choice question is 150. The next multiple choice question is 70. What's going to be the answer that you choose? It is going to be 86, okay? It's never going to be, A is going to be 86 and B is going to be 86.2. No. That's not how it works, okay? All right. Okay, this is how you do an allegation. So I'm just going to change up some numbers real quick. And I'm just going to make something up. So give me just one second. I'm just going to make some numbers up. Just going to change some things around. We'll change this, and we'll change this. We'll change this to 200 grams. We'll change this to the 6.5. Ooh, it's hot. Okay, same thing. We're going to do the same thing all the way back over again. We need our higher strength, 2.5. We need our lower strength, which is 1. We need our desired strength, okay, which is now 6.5. So 6.5 minus 2.5 is going to be 4. 6.5 minus 1 is going to be 5.5. What is the next step that we need to do? If you said to add our total parts, you are absolutely correct, which is going to be 9.5 total parts. What's our next step? This is exactly what this is. This is nothing but steps and doing the same steps over and over and over again, okay? All right, so now we're going to have our parts, which I got that from right here, divided by our total parts, which is 9.5. We have our parts again, which is 4 divided by, again, 9.5. We're going to put this in our calculator and divide this, 5.5 divided by 9.5 times, go right into that multiplication key, times 200. Let's see what we come up with, times 200. That's going to give me 115.78 grams. Let's do this one the same way. 4 divided by 9.5 times 200. That's going to give me 80. Oh, hold on. I didn't even write that down. Let me write my times 200, which is going to give me 84.21. And let's add these together and let's see what we come up with. Let's see if we come up to, let's see if we come close to 200. 115.78 plus 84.21. That's going to give me, if you put that in your calculator, that is going to give you 199.99, which is 200. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our second allegation. Okay, I'm back. I had to go outside to let my dog out to use the restroom. Okay, this question says, now this is a question. It says, how many grams of a 2% cream should you mix with 36 grams of a 14% cream, okay? So this time, we not only have the 2 ingredients that we need, but now we actually have the quantity of one of those ingredients, okay? So really what we're trying to find out, let me go ahead and finish reading the whole thing. How many grams of a 0.2% cream should you mix with 36 grams of a 14% cream in order to make a 10% cream, okay? Sometimes I know that can be kind of frustrating to understand these word problems because I've seen word problems that add so much information to where the students are just confused or discombobulated with the whole word problem. But just take your time, and when it's a full paragraph, I want you to take your time and read each sentence. And sometimes you have to work it out per sentence, okay? All right, so again, this says how many grams of a 2% cream. So that's the question. That is the question. That is the answer that we're looking for, is how many grams of a 2% cream should you mix with 36 grams of a 14% cream. So we already have the grams of the 14%, so we need the grams of the 0.2% cream, okay? And we're trying to make a 10% cream. So we still have to figure out, what is our higher strength, our lower strength, and our desired strength. We still have to figure that out, okay? All right. So if we're trying to make a 10% cream, that's going to be our desired strength because that's what we desire to make for the patient, okay? All right, so that's going to be our desired. All right, now we have 2 other ingredients, and remember, you have to have 3 numbers. And if you don't have 3 numbers, you need to add a 0 to the bottom, okay? All right, so we have a 0.2% and we have a 14%. Okay, out of those two, I'm going to go ahead and circle these again. Out of those two, oopsie. Out of those two, we need to figure out which one is the highest. And of course, 14 is higher. And then we have a 0.2 is our lower strength. Now it's time to, are we adding, dividing, subtracting, multiplying? What are we doing when we need to go across here diagonally? What are we doing? Okay, we are subtracting. So 14 minus 10 is 4. We have 10 minus 0.2, which is going to be 9.8. But I want to double check that, especially when it comes to a decimal, or when it doesn't come to a decimal, I still want to double check it, especially if I'm making something for an infant. Whenever I'm making something for an infant in the IV room, I always use my 1 ml syringe. That way, if it's 0.2 milliliters, I can pull that back to 0.2 milliliters or 0.5, because that is a very, very teeny tiny amount. Maybe a drop or two. Maybe a drop or two. Okay, anywho. All right, what's our next step? Next step here. We're going to add these total parts, okay? So 9.8 plus 4, how much is that? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 13.8. I'm going to kind of write it up here because I don't know if you can see down here. So my total parts is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13.8. And I'm just going to make sure that that is correct because I'm using my fingers and I hate to do that because that's so incorrect. All right, so my total parts is 13.8. All right, next thing that we need to do. Now remember, we already know how much of the 14% we need. We're just trying to find out how many grams of the 0.2% we need, okay? So, all right, we're still going to work this out the same way. And I'll let you know something else when we get there. So we have 9.8 divided by our total parts, which is 13.8. We have our 4. I'm just using this information right here, okay? I don't want you to get confused. I'm just using that information right there. Divided by 13.8, which is my total parts. Now, the question is, I know I told you in the last clip that we're going to multiply this by our total quantity. Do we have a total quantity? No, we don't. Oh, sorry. We do not have a total quantity. So that means that we need to work this problem out a little bit differently, okay? Excuse me. All right, so let's go ahead and gather our decimal here, and let's gather our decimal here, okay? So we have 9.8 divided by 13.8. That is going to give me 0.71. I'll stop there. Okay, let's go ahead and divide this one. We have 4 divided by 13.8. That is going to give me 0.28. All right. Now, so dividing this as a decimal, we have 0.71, okay? And then dividing the 4 divided by 13.8, we have 0.28. All this fraction is, these parts are just now converted into a decimal, okay? So I need to make some room here because we need to do something else. So I'm going to erase this, okay? I'm going to erase that. All right. So now what we need to do is we need these decimals. We need that converted fraction. We need that decimal. Okay, so we know that we have 36 grams of the 14%. And remember, the 14 was up top and the 0.2 was on the bottom because that was the lower strength. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. So I'm going to move over here so hopefully you can see this area. So of that 14%, I have 0.71 and I have 36 grams of that. 36 grams. Of the 0.2%, I have 0.28. And my question is grams. And remember, and if you've been taking a class, you may already know this, like units, okay, go right across from each other. That's something very important to know, like units, okay? So from here, all we have to do is cross multiply and divide in order to figure out how many grams we need, okay? And hopefully you know how to cross multiply and divide. You're simply going to cross multiply here, and you're going to divide the remaining number that you have, okay? All right, so I'm going to multiply 0.28 times 36. I'm going to go straight into my division key, divided by 0.71, and that is going to give me 14.197 grams. That's how much I need of the 0.2%. So make sure you rewind this and you look at this. And that's exactly how many grams you'll need of the 0.2%, okay? So basically all we did, we worked it out as an allegation first. We got our higher and our lower strength. We got our total parts. We have that as a fraction as we normally do in allegations. We converted this fraction to a decimal, and this was my 14%, that's 0.71, and we had 36 grams of that. But the one thing we didn't know was how many grams of the 0.2% we needed. So we converted this fraction to 0.28, and we needed to know how much of this 0.2. Remember, this goes with this goes with that. Okay, I know that's a little confusing, but it takes practice. It takes practice, okay? That's why you can always rewind this, okay? All right, so I made sure that I had both of those converted fractions, those decimal forms, right on the top. I had my grams on the bottom, and I had to solve for x, okay? All right, we have one more to work out. I know these are really long problems, but that's just what it is. Word problems are normally really long. Okay, I'm sorry that these have been so long because each problem takes about 10 minutes, but this is just what it is, so I'm sorry. Okay, all right. This is the last one. It says prepare 1 liter, and we know, I believe I showed you in my last video. Yeah, I did discuss that 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. I did discuss that. Okay, so we're going to prepare 1 liter of a 1 to 400 solution, and this is just something I've made up. You know, I just have to plug in numbers and do the best I can. So we're going to prepare 1 liter of a 1 to 400 solution, and we're going to be using a 1 to 50 stock solution, and we're also going to be using distilled water. And the question is, how much of each will be needed? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is go ahead and draw our allegation grid, and we need to figure out what's our desired percent, what's our higher percent, and what's our lower percent. But the first thing that we need to find out is to make sure that we're going to put everything in the right place. So it says that we're going to prepare 1 liter of a 1 to 400. Okay, and remember I discussed that at the early part of the video when I said that you have to convert these ratios to decimals. Okay, so in your calculator, because 1 to 400 is just like saying 1 divided by 400. Okay, same thing. So I want you to put in your calculator 1 divided by 400, and that's going to be 0.0025%. I hope you can see that. Now we have another ratio, this 1 to 50. Okay, that's just like saying 1 over 50. So you need to put that in your calculator. 1 divided by 50 is 0.02%. Okay, now we got that knocked out of the way. Now we can kind of move on here. All right, so if we're preparing 1 liter of a 1 to 400, this is what we're making. This is what we desire, because that's what we're going to give to the patient. Okay, so that's going to be 0.0025, and we have another number here. This is another percentage, and that's another, I want to say another ingredient, okay, another percent ingredient. So we're using, it doesn't say the name of it, but we're using a 1 to 50 stock solution, and then we're also using distilled water, okay? Remember, distilled water is just a 0%, so of course, that's going to be our lower percent strength, and then this is our second ingredient, and so that's going to be 0.02. Okay, you with me? All right, these are our 2 ingredients. We're using 1 to 50 stock solution, that's 1 ingredient, and we're also using distilled water, that's 2 ingredients, okay? And we're trying to make 1 liter of a 1 to 400 solution. We had to change those ratios to percentages. Now we have to do some subtraction. This is where you need to look at your decimals in order to figure out which decimal you need to put into your calculator first, because of course you always want to put your higher number in your calculator first so that you don't come out with a negative, even though we don't have negatives in an allegation grid. Okay, now because we have a 0 here, we have a decimal here, we have a 0 here, we have a 2 here. As you can see, we have a 0 here, 0, and 0. And this one is going to be the highest simply because the 2 is here, and then we still have a 0 here, okay? So I'm going to put in my calculator 0.02 minus 0.0025, and that is going to give me 0.0175. I'm going to put that in my calculator one more time because that is a lot of zeros in that problem. Okay, that's correct. Now we have 0 minus 0.0025, okay, and that's just going to be the same number. Ooh, let me rewrite that real quick. I hope y'all are doing okay tonight. It felt good to go outside and take a little break and kind of play around with my dog. Okay, next thing that we need to do, I'm trying to make sure I stay kind of up high because I feel like it's too low. Hold on just one moment. I want to make sure that you guys can read this. And then the other one was 0.00175. Okay, I'm trying to keep it up high here because I don't know how far I have to work with. Okay, and we're just going to work this out like any other allegation problem. We're going to add up our total parts. So let's add that up, 0.0025 plus 0.00175. And that's going to give me a total parts of 0.00425. Okay, that's just what it is. That's just what it is. All right, same process. We're going to gather our parts, which is 0.0025, and we're going to divide that by our total parts, which is 0.00425. Don't get confused with that. I have to look too. I have to make sure I'm writing down the right information. Okay, we have 0.00175, and we're going to divide that by our total parts, which is 0.00425. Now, in the previous problem, we did not have a desired quantity to multiply this by, but we do now, okay? We have 1 liter, and you can't multiply this by just 1. You have to multiply, you have to break that liter down into milliliters, okay? So we're going to multiply this times 1,000 in order for us to get each amount that we need out of these parts, okay? So we're going to multiply that times 1,000. I'm going to put that into my calculator. This is a lot of zeros. 0.0025 divided by 0.00425. I'm just going to go right into my multiplication key times 1,000. Okay, that's going to be 588.23. We're going to do the same thing with the next one. 0.00175 divided by 0.00425 times 1,000. That's going to give me 411.76, and this is milliliters. Milliliters, okay? So in order to check this to make sure you have that correct, let's add these two numbers together, which is 588.23 plus 411.76, and guess what that gives us? 999.99 milliliters, which is pretty much the same thing as 1,000 milliliters. And there is allegation. I guess we could do some basic math the next time. There are, individuals that don't know how to divide fractions, multiply fractions, a lot of different things. So I'll probably do a poll. I'm not for sure, but we'll figure out something. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.